Okay, I'm going to be the kind of
interlude,
sight unseen, like the weird third wheel. But the first question that I wanted to ask was, how did the collaboration for Autumn Winter come about?
Well, I guess I sat next to you at that big baby dinner.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and I'd only really met
what was
you
that, like
once before.
40 years in the business or something?
Yeah. And we were... Yeah.
Got a little drunk.
Yeah, we had a roaring time, didn't we?
And then I saw you outside somewhere else and you said that you were thinking about collaboration, and I said, sure, come down.
And I said, yes.
That was it.
Yeah.
So it was a quick, there wasn't a lot of negotiation, and then we met somewhere else, right?
No, it was amazingly easy.
I can't remember is the answer to that, really.
It slipped right in, didn't it?
Yeah.
Now that's how it should be. That is how it should be.
So yeah, basically the answer is by social collision, and then
which is just like that serendipity that you were talking about.
Yeah.
You know, just the way worlds collide.
So it wasn't a planned out thing as such. It was just an opportune moment. There you go. It's a difficult question to answer, so it looks a bit silly.
But you hadn't known each other for a long time then before you...
We'd met briefly.
We've met a few times.
Yeah, met a few times, but only exchanged a few words in
Claridge's. Yeah, mainly in Claridge's.
In the lobby of Claridge's. Yeah, I remember the first time I met you, and you were covered in paint, and you had like this paint-covered headband on, and you had like a sweatshirt that had holes in it or something. And there you were in the lobby.
I was Tony Stone as well.
And you were Tony Stone, and you were in the lobby of Claridge's, and you just looked so. I mean, I thought, holy smokes! Like, he's got balls.
It says a lot about Claridge's, though. You know?
Well, it's true.
They didn't ban me or anything. They let me sort of wander around like a tramp.
Yeah. No, I thought he was great in there.
Yeah, Claridge's became a kind of unofficial pub, really.
Do you still go to?
Yeah, still there, maybe once a week or something. Because I live in Brighton, so that's the home base when I mean. It's cheaper than having a flat apartment there or something.
Do they like roll your clothes out every day?
Yeah, they have like a box with clothes in.
And they roll it all out.
And deodorant and stuff like that. And then they just like, I don't know which room I'm in, so it's like a bingo.
Yeah.
And then they tell you I think I've stayed in every room now in the whole hotel. It's because I've been there 10 years or something like that.
Yeah.
I love it. And some of the rooms are really chintzy, And you get what you... And then you, like a Buddhist, you apply yourself to the situation when you get in there. Whatever it may be. There's one in there that's got like stag horns. And like,
I haven't seen that one
it's like a Scottish one, and all the walls are tartan and stuff. And that's the
really?
Yeah, that's like the booby prize, but you go with it when you get in.
Wow, that's
drink
that's
whiskey
not the norm,
and
because I see that's the moment that you've got to follow through.
I like Claridge's, it's good.
It is good, isn't it?
And that's where we met. Anyway, that's the circle. We met there, and talked about this. Then.
So, how closely did you work together when actually creating the collection? Was it a case of you kind of giving Maia your work and Maia interpreting it with her team, or did you kind of work back and forth?
There was quite a bit of back and forth towards the end, but at the start it was more the balls in your court, because I'm not naturally somebody who thinks a lot about fashion or how it might be applied to fashion, but I love the idea of my art being out in the world in a different context. Like this where's the camera in here? Like this is a random walk, so it's a few mathematical angles that create a loop and a chain, and this mark, this pathway, is utterly dependent on some random variables. And yet it looks very elegant and beautiful, but it's purely mathematically defined. So the idea that an idea I had 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago is now walking down the street in Tokyo or London, affecting people, to me is a very exciting idea, and that's kind of my interest in it. Well, and I think that collision of like Maia's fashion ability and my artistic ability colliding makes something different than a gallery would or fashion would on its own. And so I like that.
I love the fact that there's much more to it than just, it's not just, we're not just in the rag trade here.
No,
do you know what I mean?
Patterns or something.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. I assumed when I first heard about it that you'd say, I want some nature paintings, because they're the most obvious textile-y thing, and you said, no, I want these drawings, and I thought, this is going to be cool. It was like the rough stuff.
I did look at the nature paintings in it, but as you say, they're quite predictable for fashion in a way. I wanted the inside of your brain.
But I've had a lot of requests for that as well, for people, like textile people, say, can we make dresses or something? I've always said no to that. So you passed the test.
We don't hear that.
Yeah. And the things that were picked often were about serendipity and stuff. So in terms of a collaboration, it just sort of was just really quite effortless, I feel.
It was, wasn't it?
Just like, I'm cool with that.
It just went like gears, didn't it? And this, because I haven't really seen this up close, and it's just so sensational.
Well, this is the painting that came from the drawing that you based, makes the prints and the design. So,
and which is your favourite?
You see, I don't do specific. I do like.
But like which
feel. I do like everything.
Which one of these are you kind of?
I think some really fascinating ones. Like the idea behind it was always that the clouds are going on, and this is the same thing we were talking about with fashion and the affairs of mankind go on below, and yet this hydrodynamic cycle is going on all the time. As human history goes on, so the history of the water droplets goes around the planet forever and ever and ever. And so these clouds are genuine clouds from the backgrounds of famous paintings or historic events, things like that. And the relationship between the event, which isn't seen, and the cloud, I like that space. So I think this is the background of Gone with the Wind. This is the Titanic taking off on its maiden voyage, a photograph of it. This one up here is a Dura etching. The clouds actually looked like that in those years, and I've just selected them. So this is a kind of vista of the last 500 years or so, but instead of it showing all the world wars and the events that went on, it shows them in terms of clouds. And I think there's just some kind of poetic space there that I liked. And then the thought of someone wearing
they're
that.
always changing as well, clouds. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then you've captured them from, as you say, from history, and
they don't have an edge, and they move, and somebody in a dress moves around and moves from one place to another. Unlike a painting that's in a location or a collection, I just like the interface of that. And yet that's not something I requested from you. That's something that you just did. So I was like, that's it. So it looked like I was kind of not interested because I didn't ring back because it was all good. I was like, that's good. Tell her that's great.
we were really chuffed about that.
Yeah, I was just like, that's brilliant.
So we were kind of like, did we hear that right? Yeah. Is it really this easy?
Yeah, well, it was.
Yeah.
So was it that Maia, you, by the sound of it, you approached Keith and were like, okay, these are the prints that I like and the prints that I would like to use?
So we kind of nudged Keith in the direction we wanted to go and chose existing work, and he said yes to basically everything.
Pretty much. There was some issues on the size of some things that I didn't think it captured the essence of the piece. There's some fine tuning, but other than that, it was all pretty much. And I think there was a couple of studio wall drawings that didn't want in for some reason. I can't remember why.
Yeah, was it because of collectors or?
Yeah, there was something that was like. Oh, I remember what it was. There was it's a legal thing, but there was a piece that somebody else owns the copyright on for prints because they bought the rights to the prints. There was legal stuff.
The fine print thing.
Yeah, but creatively it was cool.
And was it, for you as an artist, was it difficult to kind of, as it were, take your work and give it to somebody else and sort of let Maia do what she liked with it, or did you find that quite an easy thing to do?
Well, you see, I don't believe that your ideas are your own anyway. I think they're the world's. You know, I didn't invent language or history or clouds or anything, and I'm ripping off people like Nick Knight or whoever all the time. I'm like taking styles and essences, and people use things and move them around. And really, if it wasn't for like gross capitalism, that's basically the way everything would move. And so I don't have any. To me, the thing that art, good art and good fashion and good literature talks about belongs to everybody. It's like a sort of nothing can go wrong, because this thing that's going to be produced isn't your work, it's the collaborative space, and it is what it is,
and just so long as it comes out with the quality.
Yeah, and I mean, something could look dreadful, but if it did look dreadful, then you'd say something. But I don't know. There's a spirit in a thing, you know. So like, I know Maia does a lot of like extreme sport, and I got into that, and I thought it's all going to flow well, you know. It's going to be all right.
I think as well there's an aesthetic trust thing as well. It's kind of like, you know, if someone's a fashion designer and you're like, I assume that you know the correct way to use this, and I think it's quite a trust thing in terms of. But
I think as well, you know how when you meet somebody, you can kind of get their measure, and you kind of even your subconscious goes in and goes. And then you make your kind of deduction, and you realize, yes, I do trust that person, aesthetically, personally, and yeah. So it was kind of sealed over that dinner. I thought, damn, damn, he's good.
And you know, it's like what are you contributing to the world, really? You know, if something's. It's kind of a mutual space that's created, because it's not really, when somebody puts a piece of clothing on, I wouldn't know a thing about the cut of a garment or how it should hang or anything like that. And I have assistants at the studio because there are some things that they do better than me. So I think the idea of producing something in culture, let's say, it's more like being a film director where you're using different people anyway. So the idea of collaborating on something. If I had pretensions of being a fashion designer, then I would be embarrassed about it, because it wouldn't be my skill set. But an opportunity to collaborate with someone on something seems like an opportunity, and it may have failed, but it didn't. So that's great. You know, that's like happy days.
I think as well, we were so happy that you were so happy.
Yeah, I'm just a happy person. That's it.
You are
happy, and then there's like. And interesting, one of the prints that was used was says "Stay away, you evil atomic spirits," and this was generated by a computer program that I made in like 1992.
Do you still play with it? Do you still work with it?
Well, the technology's become defunct, you see, so because it was on a Macintosh LC475, so I can't even extract the data from it. No, I got kind of bored of being the organ grinder on that thing. Yeah. What's interesting, the piece that it suggested was a door leaning against a wall in the protect and survive against a nuclear war.
Like a bunker.
Yeah, what the government used to tell you to do if a nuclear war happened. You know, you can lean a door against the wall and put some tin food behind. And the sculpture was this door with that term, "Stay away, you evil atomic spirits," some tin food and some feng shui mirrors on, and it was like this. Like, it was a horrific piece of work. You know, it really was like you couldn't. And the art machine made things that weren't beautiful at all. Yeah. But then when it's put into this knitwear, it looks really elegant, and I think it's so ironic that this things that a machine, random numbers inside a microchip came up with.
And because it does, all of a sudden it's got a life of its own.
Yeah, people are wandering around with this stem, and of course there was the nuclear disaster in Japan just after we were collaborating on it, and I thought, oh, this is so odd, you know, like these things coming out.
Yeah.
So you can't. Some things that look intentional are just woven into the gift of fun, into time and society and stuff. You know? So I like all those coincidences.
I remember when I was first talking to you, Maia, and you were talking me through the collection, through Keith's work, and talking about kind of the different mathematical formulas and things like that, which I found really fascinating. Just the idea of a system influencing your work rather than it just, rather than going out and being inspired by, the clouds or the lights or something. The idea of a system and generating work almost through that system.
But I think everything's a system anyway, including your own psyche. So the way I see it's a bit like Richard Feynman, the scientist. He says, like, imagine a swimming pool and a big fat guy jumps in at one end and there's this huge wave that starts moving. And at another end there's a little mosquito frettering the surface, and that's coming along at a different wavelength, and the two form, and really reality is all these different wavelengths simultaneously being there. So the systems I use, if they're mathematical, are no different than the system of my parents' meeting and my education. Everybody's using systems.
I guess it's also dependent on whether it's predictive or it's spontaneous.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like the system's been designed to create.
Yeah, like a formulaic kind of approach.
But I think people have a thing of when they see something mathematical or scientific, they assume that it's got this kind of rigour to it, and that it's there to tell them something, and maybe they've got some association, distant one from school where they didn't understand or they feel ignorant. But to me, mathematics and science is just another language. And an abstract painter will put red next to blue, and I'll put an equation next to a flower, and I see them as marks and tools and beautiful things. They're not. I love to use systems to create things because I think that's how the world works. There are fascinating, people, when something happens, a disaster happens, we all rush to try and work out what caused it, and the answer is everything caused it.
Right. So you could go into infinity.
Exactly.
Of examining the elements that create.
And you'd have to give an accurate answer.
Yeah.
So we can sit here and have coffee and talk about why did X happen or how did the collaboration happen, and to truly answer any question like that, you'd have to go back to the start of the Big Bang.
Yeah.
So this is what, and so
all roads lead to the Big Bang.
the rest is just love and storytelling. That's what everything else is.
And you. After I spoke with you and we were going through potential work, you did get me listening to all these maths podcasts.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was good. I had a good little run with them.
Yeah.
They were pretty.
Maths is beautiful.
But they're insane. They're like there was one that was saying like there's more than one infinity or something, and I was like, wait a second, I have to rewind and go. Wait a second.
Well, there's like the world is the electron is a mathematical entity. There's a probability of it being in a certain place. And so if you can see the world as solid, and that's one way of understanding it, or you could see it as information. And I'm on part of in the artist in residence at Oxford for cosmology, and there's some real off the charts bright guys there, and girls as well.
That's pretty sexy.
And they talk about all these world models, but at the end of the day, they're just models. Then when we talk about science and things, we're just talking about our way of describing it. We refine our description, but nature's nature,
right?
And it'll always be nature.
And you can't change it by talking about it.
No, we just talk about ourselves and our models, and that's very different to the universe. Is just this incredibly beautiful thing that's inspiring, and science is just one way to look at it.
It's just like interpreting it.
Yeah, and it's no different than the interpretation of a sunset taking your breath away. But I just want to use both.
Bringing the numbers and the kind of emotion together and creating another entity.
Yeah, but there's misnomer that I'm a scientific artist or something. I'm actually not that interested in science. I'm interested in nature, the world, and that's just one of the many things that I kind of like to play with in my bedroom.
I think that's lovely.
Yeah.
I think I've got plenty there.
Right.
Great.
And hopefully I'm not going to be interjecting too much from me.
I think it's difficult because you
difficult
answer the question, and you also answer the question like to the.
Can I ask something just out of interest? Like, do you feel as a designer, do you feel under a certain pressure using someone else's work?
To say that
Do you
again?
feel under a certain pressure, like using someone else's work, or do you feel like you have complete artistic license over the lecture?
It's we do have to tread lightly, and be sensitive about it, you know, because you can. We have had artists who say, you know, you can't use this image, and you know, and then we go, what? Do you know what I mean? And then
we really like it.
Yeah, we really like it, which is difficult, but you have to be respectful, you know, and it's just part of it, really. But
I mean, with honoured things as well, you don't like cut little bits out or anything.
No, you couldn't start editing people's work down. You know what I mean? There is that's lacking in all grades.
I imagine some people could be really precious about it. Like, I mean, there are weird things, but there's weird things like on a fashion site, like Louis Vuitton. If you look at a Louis Vuitton bag, you can never cut through the LV. That's like one of their rules.
But you see, that's a brand, you see.
Yeah.
Well, you can never cut through the...
If you look, their bags are made so a seam never cuts through the LV.
It
cuts through all the stuff around
right.
it, but never the LV. Which is, I'm wondering if like you did something. Yeah. But I'm wondering if you did something and then, you know, someone would be like, oh my god, you can't cut through that cloud. That's my favourite cloud.
There's two, like, I think artists are not necessarily the best interpreters of their own work. I know a lot of artists who I go to their studios and I love their work and they'll tell me what their work's about and I think, no, it's not. You've no idea.
Fashion designers as well, like, sometimes you go there and they'll tell you it's about this and I'm like, really, it's just a really short dress and you can go out and have a shave.
It's like, they think it's like...
It's not
intellectual. But also
that
things take their own lives, you know. They have a life of their own as objects.
You've got to trust somebody else's interpretation because that's correct for them. You know, if somebody tells me that my paintings are about X, I'm not going to argue because to them it is. That is exactly what it is. And I can't. Let's say I paint a couple of suitcases because of some, I don't know, some intellectual reason about the nature of a suitcase, and you've just had a divorce. It's going to mean something completely different to you. I'm not. I can't control the work.
As well, is it, I mean, which kind of links into the idea of looking at the use of your print in mind. Have you ever seen anyone kind of hang your work hideously? I'm wondering if you're just, because you don't seem very kind of terribly precious about it in terms of you're not sort of, oh my god, you can't do this.
No, the only people that I've actually been annoyed with around hanging stuff have actually been like secondary markets, so like auction houses and things, who can take your work completely out of context, put it up, and they'll say, okay, here's a Keith Tyson painting. And it might have come from a suite of, for instance, 52 playing cards, and they just show this one painting with no context at all, not the other 51, and say this is what he does. And so then that's annoying because they haven't given the context by which this thing exists. And so someone looks and says, well, why Keith Tyson just paints two stripes?
And
that's what he does.
Completely arbitrary.
Yeah,
and in fact it's...
So there's an urge to control your context. But I think in this instance, it's a release. Really, this is, I feel, as much as it might appear like I've been used to make a print, I've used fashion to create something else by letting someone else communicate an idea. And my idea is going around the world, and the context is being seen. I don't see these as my artwork or how I would choose to do something. I just see them as something out there talking about things which I think are interesting. And I think they survive the context of and become something else. And I've seen some hot chicks in them, and they look amazing. You know?
That is what we like to hear.
That's the end of the game, right? It makes people look great
and feel great.
Yeah.
And feel great. And if they feel great.
And it's good to wear a concept as well as
Well, it's nice as well, I think, that it's not as if it's all clown paintings or all equations. You know, I think
there's a lot of variety in there.
And it's interesting to see it integrated with the pieces like the the leather pieces and things like that, and how it all works together as a collection as well as its artwork.
Did you take the colours for things from the prints and things? Did that make like this the background colours?
We kind of rejigged. Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Some, to line it up, and then, but then we did tweak some things.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that there's like sou'westers and you see the clouds.
Because
that's
true. It's a kind of weather thing.
But that was intentional, right? Okay, good.
No, but also we're we're always aspiring to like battle the weather.
Yeah.
You know, mother of pearl.
You're London based.
Yes, no, exactly. I tell you, it is an English thing, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't get a more British obsession than the clouds, I guess. But you know, Richter paints them, and he's German, so there you go.
Did you've seen Gavin Rector-Pinney's book?
Oh, the cloud,
yeah.
the Cloud Spotter's Bible.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
It's sweet.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, it's a layman's version, but it's kind of warm rather than being too technical.
We've all done that thing with our kids where you sit down and you're looking for shapes in them and stuff like that. And, I see like horrific horrors in the saga. My kid's like, it's a bunny, and I'm like, I see the apocalypse.
There's intestines.
The devil disemboweling me across it.